Crap live. Let's do it. Let's go live. How about that? Hello. Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and this is Movie Crap Live. It is good to see you all. Let's hear. Can I hear myself? Can I hear myself? Oh, there I am. There I am. Anyway, let's send out the tweet. It's sent out there. And hello, Austin, Javier Portello, Nathaniel Foga, Cornbread with and everybody, Nadella Butterfly, Bruce Parker, Cornbread, TuneJ723, Bruce Parker again. Who was the person? I feel like Austin and I both added him at the same time. Hold on. Nicholas Walker. Sorry if we were both like, no, we talked about it last week. Thank you for being here. Apologies. That was too many people answering the same question. Apologies. Alex the Windrider, Medella Butterfly, Coral Tender, El Mono Loco, Jordan Salafalo, William Ellman, Ryan Walterson. I like that. I shall discuss a piece of cinema. Amazing. Darren's Free Time. Nathaniel Folk. Did I say everyone? Hello, Paddle. Happy Saturday to you too. And sent out the tweet and not plausible. Hello. It is not plausible. Oh, Nunbox 64. I will switch over because you gave me the first super chat of the night. Let's do the fade there. Whoa, look, it's me. Hello, wearing my How to Train Your Dragon shirt. I need to get my shit together and get the Cletus shirt ready. I need to. It's Saturday's not a good time to look for it, and I didn't even try, but one day I will. Anyway, we have two here. Okay, Nattenbach64 says, can't believe that Over the Hedge is now 15. Funny trivia fact, I've never seen Over the Hedge. I've always wanted to. I've always heard it's good. I've never heard anything bad about it, but I've never seen it. But cheers to you, Nattenbach64. I'm sure it will be in the movie review vote now. Bloxy Oxenwinkle with another super chat says, what do you think of Invincible? Oh, I haven't watched Invincible yet. I want to watch Invincible. I'm not sure when I will. Do you think it can compete with The Crew starring Kevin James? Both are probably the shows of the season. I don't think it can compete. I've actually heard a lot of people say, why did Amazon even make it? Because The Crew is just destroying it completely. So that's my answer to that. Cheers to you, Bloxy. I don't know. I need to I need to watch that. So apologies for that. If the internet was cut off for 1 year, what would you do? Cry? That sounds like, I want to watch Invincible. I have nothing against it. I did not read it. I think I watched a Comic Tropes or was it Comic Tropes or Comic Drake? Somebody. I watched something on it. It sounds good. So, hello, Untitled Project. Diddocast. That's interesting. Diddocast. That's a cool name. All right. So this is a bit different than the usual show, I guess, because we don't have a ton of news. It was a very slow news week, I will say. Yes, I have a burning hatred. So I am going to be doing 3 segments, which I don't normally, I try not to because that's sort of a lot. I am doing, I'm doing 3 segments, but there's a difference. I'm doing, Falcon Winter Soldier, do that kind of every week. Episode 4, it's 4, we're at 4 now. I think, the Monster Pets, the Hotel Transylvania short, those are sort of normal segments. Birdgirl is a little different. I wanted to explain this at the top of the show. Basically, because when I was researching Birdgirl, I was like, the next episode comes out Sunday. But then if I put out a review of the pilot, after, either while the review's going on, while the new one's going on, or after, it doesn't really work as well. So what I'm going to do is, when it's a movie crap short, there's actually going to be a review of the episode that aired on Sunday night. Obviously, I won't shoot that won't be during this. You will just get the pilot review, but there'll be a review of the next episode as well. So it'll be a review of the first 2 episodes. I'm not going to review every episode of Birdgirl. I really didn't have I don't I didn't like it that much or anything. But maybe I can do that with like Rick and Morty, possibly in when that season comes out. I can like on the show review one, and then we can do that. It's sort of an experiment. So if you hate it, you guys can tell me what you think of that. Why watch Birdgirl when you can watch Word Girl? Why watch Bird? Sorry, I want to say that right. Ryan Walters said super chat. Why watch Birdgirl when you can watch Word Girl? True. I should just reviewed Word Girl. What was I thinking? Cheers to you, Ryan. All right. Nothing big happened this week. I finally saw Hop. I did not have enough time to shoot a review of it. I finally did shoot all of my Magnificent Ambersons thing. Thank fucking God. I think it's like 2 hours of footage or something. It's ridiculous. I have no clue when that's happening. But I did finally see Hop. It was alright. Sophie liked it. It was like pretty high in trending on Netflix that day. I saw a lot of social media about it. It seems like a lot of people were watching that. It's not great. But maybe if I'm stuck watching it a different year, I'll shoot a review and then save it for the following year or something like that. But yeah, it just didn't get shot because I was like, I need to finish Magnificent Ambersons. And I did. And that's going to be epic. I guess first off, every Toonami show ever video is going to come out, I believe, Tuesday. If I need to hold it longer, Wednesday is the absolute latest that can happen. I was originally thinking Friday, but then it wasn't going to work out. I'm kind of glad I didn't because the Saber Sparks video came out that I worked on about the Smurfette principle. The pizza party came out on Friday. And I had a Spicegate video about Gary Oldman this week. So it was like a lot of stuff. And I was sort of like, I think Nomadland. I don't think I want to shoot. And the Jax Blade Ninja Turtles video, which I really need to watch. I was like, I kind of didn't want to put out a big thing that day because it felt like there's like too many things going on. But, and I wasn't ready to do it. So I think that worked out. But check out all those. In terms of Pizza Party, and I've said this on Twitter, it's not over. It's still, I know Izzy tweeted RIP Pizza Party, but we talked about it. Everyone's cool. We're talking about doing more pizza parties. It'll just be on Pan's other channel, not on the main channel. That's the only difference. It's not going anywhere. Anyone who says I'm in Pizza Party, I would know. So there we go. Obviously we're going through sort of a transitional phase, I think, because Nolan's gone and all that stuff. But yeah, we're figuring it out. But I literally today we're talking about when's the next time we're going to do another one. So to me, that doesn't sound like we're over in my mind because we're all talking about doing more. So, when it's really over, we'd probably all cry and stuff. So I think that'll be a different thing. Yeah. Sophie's gotten back into superhero girls, and there's so many of those. And I think it didn't end up airing at a prime spot on Cartoon Network, but it's sort of interesting. If Movie Crap had existed when that pilot came out, that would have definitely been a Movie Crap short because we were Sophie and I were really into that pilot. She loves that show, and it's who also the people who made that show, and I'll talk about this later, helped direct are directing the new Hotel Transylvania and are also directing they directed the short and they're directing Hotel Transylvania 4. So it's interesting, and you can kind of sense that. Gendy kind of style in both, but yeah, will Ken come back? Man, that's a real question, Madonna Butterfly. I don't know. That'd be interesting. I'm into that idea. The one Pizza Party question I haven't gotten in a while is Ken coming back. I hope so. I mean, Ken was at both MomoCons. You guys just didn't notice. Anyway, no. That's not true. I mean, he could have been. I don't know. I've never met him in real life. He seems like... I always liked Ken, to be honest with you. I kind of miss him. You can't get Movie Crap on your Roku? What? if you go, I believe if you go to just type my name in, it should come up. But I don't know. I don't really watch streams on Roku that often. So what do I do? Will Nero's Q come back? Oh, I forgot about the Nero's Q thing. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I did every NBC Saturday morning show ever. I don't know. We'll see about every NBC. Okay, we should actually talk about stuff. What's it? Okay, I think that's enough things. Let's get into this proper, because even though it's looser, that's how these things get. Linkara. From my understanding, he won't be on. I don't know. I don't deal with guests. Well, except for the one time, which I think you know, it was Mike Mozart. I was like, Mike, you got to be on. Ryan Walter said, scenario, you watch a Friday night show block in the 80s and 90s. Your options are TGI, or 90s and 2000s. Your options are TGIF and Cartoon Fridays. Which show do you keep from both? Okay, well, first off, cheers to you, Ryan. It's very generous of you. Cheers to you. I think I did watch Cartoon Fridays when they had, I believe they had Clone Wars, and I watched it like every week. I don't remember the other shows because I was just there to watch Clone Wars, and then we'd get drunk because I was in college. But I'd probably keep just Clone Wars and Family Matters and keep it at that. I'm sorry, that's like a lame answer, but I'd probably say, yeah, just Clone Wars, Family Matters. Was like Dexter and Teen Titans. Teen Titans I'd always watch on Saturday morning, so I don't even know if Teen Titans was on that, but yeah. I have not played Among Us. If you're wondering if I played a video game, it's most of the time the answer is no. Jordan Powers, sorry. Hello. All right. Before we get into more things, Clone Wars, I mean the 15-minute things, the Gendy stuff, not the CG things. When those Clone Wars and Titans don't count, Ryan? Well, I don't know. See, a lot of these shows, the things with Cartoon Network at that time, I didn't really watch the premieres at that time. I'd watch it whenever. Yeah, so I think I'm not the right person. I'm sorry, Ryan. I've let you down. All right. Before we go on, let's really get into the show. Sorry, this is a goofy ass beginning. So this and everything I do is supported by you, the fans, either through super chats during the show, where I'll take a swig of Red Bull right here, and read your question and answer it and all that stuff, or through my Patreon, which is linked in the description down below. My Patreon has all sorts of cool features, like you get postcards, more power in the movie review vote, exclusive videos like the commentary series, which I've done all of Cleus to Fetus. I'm working on Knock Force, doing older YouTube, any other things I've worked on over the years. Find out who won the movie review vote before everyone else, everything like that. As well as Skype calls and everything, all sorts of exclusive stuff. And it's pretty cool, and it helps support the show. It helps me got a new computer, all that sort of stuff. So if you want to see the show grow and all that stuff, then, and you're financially able to, it is very much appreciated. And yeah, but I very much thank you very much for doing that. If you are not able to, oh, Ryan's giving me options. I'll go back to these options and pick one, Ryan. I'm sorry. If you're not financially able to and you just like watching, that's fine. Liking is good. Subscribing is also good. If you want to hang out, see the instant premieres, I do that quite frequently, actually. So if you want to know about the instant premieres, click on the bell, and that way you can know about every video and all that stuff. But liking is very appreciated. Anything like that helps the show out in any way. But if you're just watching and you just watch every week or every now and then, thank you very much for being here and all that stuff. If you're watching for a specific story, also I try to say this at the beginning, and you're like, when's this guy going to talk about my thing? I have, and you're not watching this live, you're watching this later, I will have the time codes in the description. You should be able to scroll through on the YouTube video as well. But if you just want to go there, it's in the description right there for your convenience. So you don't have to hear me talk about other things. That's why I do that. Follow me on Twitter. I have a Facebook group as well. I post everything I do on that Facebook group also. And then Instagram, if you want to do that. I do that sometimes. And then finally, and I will get back to Ryan's question, The Discord, which is run excellently well by Austin and Zane Powers. It has all sorts of cool things like Ask Jim, where I try to ask questions. I've been good at answering them this week. Suggestions for Jim. There's a Lost Media thing section on there. There's General, where I will tell them, like, hey, what do you want me to talk about in movie crap this week? All sorts of stuff like that. So, and they do a movie watch along and a show watch along almost every Friday night. So, yeah. When is Jim going to talk about my thing? What thing? Zane Powers, what thing? What are you talking about? Is there a thing? I miss a thing? I'm confused. Please let me know what the thing is. Now, let's get back to... But they do a good Discord. Join. It's in the description down below. Okay, so my options on Cartoon Fridays were Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, I Am Weasel, Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Mike Lunog. Okay, so here, I'll be real with you. I'm actually a big Cow and Chicken fan. I had a VHS tape of Cow and Chicken. So I think Clone Wars should count, by the way, but I guess we're not, because Ryan says we can, so whatever. I'll say Cow and Chicken, Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, Family Matters. I'll throw Step by Step in there. There we go. Let's see. What was Zane? Oh, I can call you Zane? Okay, sorry. Oh yeah, you did watch Space Ghost Coast to Coast this week. I'm confused what Zane Powers thing is, but let's move on. So, okay. I like Count Chicken. I would like to rewatch it. I was like super into it. Like, I don't know why. I don't know. I was like, this is weird. I like it. This looks like something no one's gonna let their kids watch. And I was like a teenager. I was like, this is neat. All right, so there were photos released this week for there were photos not released, but TMZ took photos or bought photos or however you want to say it of shooting the live action Powerpuff Girls show for the CW. We saw the actresses in the Powerpuff Girls. Oh, sorry, Zane Powers. Okay, I get it. I saw you see each of the actresses who are going to play the Powerpuff Girls in costumes which look like normal costumes, and then all of Twitter, or at least all the people I follow, had to comment on it. My thing is, and I said this on Twitter, but I'll say it again, my problem when you have these on-set photos is this is not how these costumes are made to be presented, and most things on a film set are made for certain cinematography choices, lighting choices, post-production choices, and just taking them out of that element is sort of not fair to the creative people involved, because like it's made for this specific purpose and you're taking it out of it, and that's not the first impression you want. So I kind of am like, I know everyone's saying like, oh, this is the part where they're like, it's a dream, and it's like, haha, we don't do that anymore, could you imagine, or something like that. We like don't know. Like, we don't know. No one knows. And it could look cool with the certain cinematography and the lighting and everything like that. So to me, what? Oh, okay. Lost media person. So to me, it just doesn't really necessarily, I think, make a lot of sense to pass judgment on it, because we really don't know what was going on there. It has to be TMZ, not in Box 64. It's true. It had to be. TMZ gets everything. Cheers to you. Lost Media Gift. I've talked about a bunch of those stuff, but anyway, those seem, if you're interested in those, you should talk about them if you would like to. But the Powerpuff Girls photos, yeah, I don't, maybe it'll be the part like that, maybe it won't. I know, like, on the set of the X-Men movie, the 2000 X-Men movie, there's the top part where when Kevin Feige was worked for, I guess, whoever produced those. Laura Schuler Donner, and the photos of Hugh Jackman in a certain costume leaked and it became this whole controversy. So I thought about that. I was like, I wonder if they'll now change the costumes because they're seeing the backlash on Twitter and they don't want that. It is also interesting how highly sensitive of all properties the Powerpuff Girls are for people. It is so interesting to me how, as many times, I'm not saying I like the reboots or anything like that, but it's like so fascinating that this has become such a a polarizing property over the years. I just find it bizarre that it's like people get so enraged over this property. I mean, I don't think they're doing right by it, but I'm curious about this. I get the impression it's going to be done in sort of an Arrowverse cinematography wise way. But again, we haven't seen it, so let's see what happens. I'm sure everyone in the cartoon community will do a review of the pilot, and we'll all get mad. NeuroSQ will come back, and it'll be amazing. But to me, it's like this is something we should not really be seeing. It's not fair to the people who made it. Like, let's let them do present this the way it should be. That's my view on it, and I think that should be everyone's view on it. It's like, oh, okay. It didn't honestly look that bad to me. It was like I didn't, I thought most of the girls looked fine in it, but I was also like, these aren't like amazing angles. Like nobody takes a photo. Like, do you really want a photo of you out there that's taken from the bottom of the hill looking up? Like, there's no way that's flattering also. So anyway, well, they say fuck Batman. Anyway, so it was announced that Tom Kenny will come back as the narrator, not the mayor to my understanding, and that Robin Lively will play Sarah Bellum, which I think I think that's cool. So those were kind of cool casting things. I'm glad Tom Kenny's coming back. Tom Kenny really doesn't get enough work, as he works on 17 million shows at once for some reason. And the Professor Utonium casting, I think we talked about it last week. I'm still down for. So RuPaul needs to be him. I'm down for that. I think him is an interesting, I don't know, you'd have to be careful with the him character, because him is like, for a kid, him is very scary, because him plays into a lot of like, and that voice that like like that, and then like with the echo, like that's some scary shit, man. Like, I hadn't watched Powerpuff Girls in like a bunch of years, and then I caught a him episode, and that like I was like, I'm gonna have nightmares now, because you don't know what him looks like. Somebody who's definitely gonna like do something fucking weird to you. You know what I mean? It's like definitely like not something you want in your life. Just looks a little scary. So there was a clip of Infinity Train Book 4, which I believe comes out this coming week. It looked like a really cool clip. Sort of what we thought it would be about, where one kid's really into the band, the other kid isn't. Obviously, that's a perfect setup for going on to the Infinite Train. I liked it. I've been in bands, and there's always the one person who's like way more into it than everyone else, and everyone else like might just be doing it for fun and so forth, and it's like a perfect setup to me. I thought it was a really good clip. Infinity Train continues to be a really great I think it continues to be a really great show, and I'm excited for it. It looks like on par with what we've gotten from that. So Godzilla vs. King Kong was a huge box office success, making about $60 million in America. And it's also made like a ton. I forgot to bring up Box Office Mojo like an idiot. I wanted to have the... when I type in Box Office Mojo, it goes... weekend by year, 1999. That's what I want to look up. Hey, do you guys, since we're here, guess what was the last number one movie in 1999? Do you guys know? Does the chat know? It's Stuart Little. Stuart Little was number one December 31st to January 2nd. So spanning 2 decades. Like, man, Box Office Mojo is such garbage now. Like, why did we do this? Did this happen pre-pandemic? Maybe because we messed up. Oh, it's already the number one 2021 movie. Godzilla vs. King Kong, $52 million. So domestically, it has made about $60 million. Hold up. We got some super chats that I missed, and I apologize. Him also seemed above physical confrontation. Him did. This is a terrible grammar. Him did, but the fact that you knew if he was in one, he would do something pretty awful. Like the intimidation factor was there, or at least to me. Cheers to you, Blacksy. Thank you very much. And Oh, Jordan Bouchard says Godzilla vs. Kong is distracting when Paperboy from Atlanta has scenes with 11 from Stranger Things. Kind of takes me out of the scene. Was it just me? That took me a minute. I was like, Paperboy. Oh, right. Paperboy. Atlanta's been off for so long, I can't remember like who anyone's character's name is. But those scenes were I didn't those that was the weakest plot line of Godzilla vs. Kong. I will say that. Cheers to you, Jordan Bouchard. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Where were we? Okay, yes. So the worldwide gross is 297 million, which is very close to 300. It's doing very well, and it's showing a sign of return to theaters. I think this is really great. I've heard even that Godzilla vs. King Kong might be in the first quarter the most watched streaming event or streaming episode, basically, or streaming movie. It's so unconfirmable, and I know there's some service that's saying that, and no one's sure where they're getting their data from. So it's sort of like one of those things where it's like, I'll take your word for it. But to be honest, I have seen almost everyone tweet about Godzilla vs. Kong. Almost everyone who's had streaming data from quarter one actually has Nomadland above the Snyder Cut, which is interesting. But that also shows you, if that is true, which I don't think the Snyder Cut was actually that successful, to be honest with you. But I think Nomadland appeals more towards, I guess, older viewers who are still at home and are definitely, they might be vaccinated, but it's still scary out there. Not everyone's just like, I think this idea that everyone's going to like just suddenly go out into public life immediately is a little overrated, is a little overblown, because a lot of people are like, it takes a while to transition into those things. So it's interesting. And Little Things, I think, was number 2 on a lot of these lists. So it's interesting to see where this is shaking out. We'll see if we actually get accurate information or we actually know. But I think if Godzilla vs. King Kong was the biggest streaming thing in quarter one, whatever the quarters mean, I forget how it all means, then yeah. But Nomadland, it sort of makes sense because it seems like everyone's seen it. And that's good for Hulu. Hulu's, I think, and Searchlight, what Disney's doing with Searchlight, you got to watch out for that, because I think Disney's going to keep Searchlight around and use it to, like, directors who say, well, you're Disney, I don't want to just do big blockbusters. They're like, oh, well, do you want $20 million to make your indie movie, and we'll promote it and get you some Oscars? And I'm sure any director will make that deal, like Chloe Zhao did. I'm not saying that's artistically, immoral or something like that. I'm just saying, like, that can work out for them, and it can work out artistically for people. There's nothing negative about that. Ryan Walterson says, ideal casting. The cast of The Sopranos are the Amoeba Boys. Some redhead as princess. Some redhead. I should be offended by that, I think. Some band as the Gangrene Gang, and Joe Exotic as Fuzzy Lumpkins. I will raise you. I want Paul Hauser as Fuzzy Lumpkins. Can we get Sophie to play Princess? She's too young right now, but maybe in a couple of years. Some band, Gangrene Gang. I'll come back to that one, Ryan. Maybe that'll be a Twitter thing later. Cheers to you, sir. All right. But yeah, it's cool that Godzilla vs. Kong is doing well. If you are vaccinated and you can be safe and you feel comfortable going to a theater, that is fine. I'm not demoting that, and that's fine. But it is good that, like, Warner Media really wanted this to be a big, like, good box office news. Thus why the Regal deal, which does actually play heavily into the Warner news this week. Thus why that happened, because they really wanted this to be a big thing. It seems to be being a big thing. It's the biggest box office we've had during the pandemic, bigger than Wonder Woman 1984, which is crazy because, again, like, I keep wanting to bring this up to people. This was never going to be a good box office year. It was always going to be like a lesser box office year compared to 2019, even if we had no coronavirus. It was never going to be as bad as it was. I'm not an idiot. But it's funny because if we had talked in January of 2020, I would have said, oh, well, Godzilla vs. Kong, like, we don't know when it's coming out. We don't have a trailer. What's going on with that? But all the faith is in Wonder Woman 1984. And now that's like a fucking joke because I think Godzilla vs. King Kong was so much better than that. And Sinram's here. Hello, Sinram. All right. So, I think the big thing, and the probably thing I will talk about, I have the most to talk about, is the Mystery Science Theater 3000 Kickstarter. So Mystery Science Theater came back this week with a new Kickstarter, this to launch its own thing, which I'm going to mess up. So I will, hold on. Okay, there we go. Sorry. To launch their own app, which will be called the Gizmoplex, or like Gizmonic Institutes. Basically, this Gizmoplex thing will premiere new episodes, so we'll get episodes one at a time. They'll be kind of like a big premiere type thing, basically making their own network or their own app. So since they've been canceled by literally every network they've been on other than that UHF station in the late 80s, they kind of just want to do their own thing, which makes sense. We have a super chat from Nattenbox64 says, I saw that some articles forgot to mention that WB's 2021 date strategy was only for this year. That is true. I will get to that in a little bit. But I have seen some people, I think a lot of people weren't sure if they're going to do it. But I'll get into that in a little bit. But I've noticed people were doing that also. I'm not sure why they're not doing it, but they should be a little more accurate. Thank you for the super chat, Nattenbox64. Cheers to you. But basically what they're trying to do is almost make Mystery Science Theater like it used to be back in the old days, where I'd go on some news group and read how people thought about the episode, which back then was actually just like, we like them all. Except for like the ones that were like extra funny. But this is to bring back Jonah and the Bots, which was actually sort of surprising because almost everything I'd been reading before this was that Emily was the new host. You know, they had her do streams. They pretty much confirmed it during the tour last year, or 2019, or whatever the fuck I saw that. So I was a little surprised the way they're doing it. I think I made a video that said how I would bring back MS3K or how I would reboot it. I was basically like saying they should have Emily do it, and they could do like a Patreon thing and release, a certain amount of episodes. It did meet its funding goal immediately, like I think within 24 hours. I did pledge because I did have I'm going to get a t-shirt, which is awesome. So I guess you sort of know how much I spent. But it's interesting. I think that Jonah and Patton and Felicia are all coming back. I was a little surprised by that. I thought they were kind of done. I've seen people have kind of two sets of opinions on that, where I don't love I like every era of Mystery Science Theater. Let me say that. I do like some Joel episodes more than others, but I can watch whichever. There's certain ones I like of everyone. I think Jonah, he started with a different riffing style, which is a little harder because the Mike and Joel difference isn't too much because it's the same writing team. But I think and I know some fans don't like the Jonah stuff and the Hollywood stuff. I'm glad they're getting another season, but it does seem like also that Joel has insinuated, and you can see in the picture on the Kickstarter, there's like a head that looks like it could be Emily, and that they're going to expand the universe. I hope they have other hosts, and I hope they let other people do it. And I wouldn't mind, to be honest with you, and I've seen other people on Twitter mention that it was cooler when the show was just Minnesota comedians making this weird show out of nowhere and not, like LA famous people. This is like kind of like the superstar MST3K, and I kind of wanted to move past it because I don't know if like it doesn't get the aura of the original. I feel like we could do that better with unknown people who kind of like maybe need the exposure. Like, does Jonah Ray need it? Does Patton Oswalt, you know what I mean? It's like I think they do a good job, and I like those episodes, but I kind of think the integrity of the show works better with new people. And I was very pro Emily because I feel like also the thing with Jonah is that Jonah doesn't I don't think he has a distinct personality. I think it was always a bigger problem, but whatever. I still think he did, I think Cry Wilderness and Mac and Me were two classic episodes. Like, he got two classic Mystery Science Theater episodes. In my mind, you did your job if you're doing two episodes that nobody can fuck with. You know what I mean? It's like if he had no good classic episodes that I those are two I've watched more than once. So if he didn't have any of those, then I'd say, why are we doing this still? But the fact that he can pull those off, to me as a fan, I think it should work. But I'm curious what the gives. I think this will be good for the show. It does sound like they'll probably premiere also on Pluto. So if you don't want to sign up for the Gizmoplex or whatever, Gizmoplex, you can still kind of see them in some ways. They haven't fully said like how they're going to put them out. It sounds like we'll get a new episode this year, but we'll see about that. I'm not sure about all that because it sounds like a lot to do, but I'm happy with what's going on with the show. I hope it continues. Obviously I'm a huge fan. I might make in the future segments or reviews of the other episodes of the last season I never got to before the new one premieres. If it's like an episode one at a time, that will also help, because one of the problems, and I heard this from other people, with the last season is it came out right at Thanksgiving, and I knew some of the YouTubers who were trying to do Mystery Science Theater reviews, and even journalists who complained about like, I don't have enough time to focus on this like I did the last season because it's Thanksgiving and there's a million major movie stuff going on then, and so it kind of just got like steamrolled. So I'm hoping with the individual episode things we can appreciate it more, build up more of a fan base. I think it will actually work out for it. So I'm hoping for the best. I'm sorry if I'm going on and on about this because I have a lot of opinions on it, but we'll see. I will give updates on it. We'll see. I do hope Emily continues. I think she has a different vibe about her as a host. I think she could potentially be a good host that I think the fandom needs. I still like Jonah. I like a lot of his skits, but I think you need a distinct personality to stick out, and it does feel like I think we need someone who can get into the top two and not someone who's always going to be third place in terms of host. But I like Baron Vaughn's coming back and Hampton Yount. I like Baron Vaughn a lot, so I'm very happy about that. So, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this builds as they're writing them as it goes on. Like they can develop a season with the audience for once. I think that'll actually be really cool, because before it's like here they all are at once. And now, like, because they're doing premieres and things like that, it might work out a little better. And maybe financially it'll work out for these guys and they'll do it for longer. And we can maybe have different kind of... Because I know they even hinted at another host at one point. Maybe we can have several hosts and several different crews. And we can broaden things up. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it right now. I have donated to it. It has reached its goal. So Gizmoplex will be happening. We'll see. They put out stretch goals to show like how many different episodes they get, how many of this thing they'll get, how many of that thing. So we'll see as it goes on. But it sounds like we're going to get a pretty cool experience for Mystery Science. This is one of the best times to be a Mystery Science Theater fan, I will say. There's more fan meetups, there's more fan activity than there's ever been, and I really like that. So Doug Walker riff tracked the Fleischer Superman. Oh, fuck him. I hate him. Why would you do that? Sorry, I don't hate him. I mean, I don't love him. Also, Linkara has puppets. He could... Bruce Parker, why did you say that? I just threw up in my brain. Okay. Sorry. There is going to be a movie about the Peeps. Not your friends, but the little... the little kind of marshmallowy things you get in your Easter baskets. There's going to be a Peeps movie. I'm assuming a lot that has to do with this Peeps movie or an Easter movie like this is because the Peeps, because Hop probably makes Illumination and Universal a lot of money every Easter, and seeing that be in the top 10 of Netflix that week probably made them go, hey, maybe we should make another Easter movie, because there isn't really a lot of Easter media. I think it's like a Charlie Brown special and Hop. I'm sure some of you guys in the chat could come up with another one, but it's pretty much those two. So I think, if there was another one, would you watch it? Yeah, because Easter you usually have like a big meal. I don't think, we're talking about this, I don't think there's an official like meal time for Easter the way you have that with things like like Thanksgiving, Christmas, so forth. But you still like there's some hangout time, so I could see like I could actually see it working out. I don't think it's actually the dumbest idea in the world financially. Do I think like artistically it's the stupidest fucking thing in the world? But yeah. So the idea of this Peeps movie will be the plot of this is Easter meal. Do you not eat on Easter, Nathaniel Fogg? Passion of the Christ. Oh, fuck, you're right. The Peeps movie says it will follow a ragtag group of Peeps characters who set out on a cross-country journey in order to attend Peeps Fest, sorry, an annual celebration in Pennsylvania. Why it's not Peepsylvania, I'll never know. The Peeps, I don't know if this will be a thing, but I think it could actually work out for them. It sounds like stupid, but there's so many different colors of Peeps. I guess, the yellow one would be the leader, and then there'd be the pink one and a blue one. Yeah, Peeps I know we put some Peeps on the stove and made them a little yummier. You really have to burn them up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Most people don't like Peeps. So I think this might be this might be more controversial than Passion of the Christ. So, moving on to a more, did I delete? Oh, fuck. Why did I do that? That was stupid, Jim. Why did you do that? I think I deleted. No, I haven't. Okay. So there was an article, this is more serious, I guess, but it was a major news story, there's an article about Scott Rudin, who's the famous producer who's produced, I'm not exactly sure which, sorry, I need some water. He's a famous producer, he's produced things for the Coen Brothers, notably. He's produced, I believe he produced the Social Network, he's produced a ton of things, but it came out this week an article about how abusive he is, particularly to anyone who works with him, his assistants and so forth. Hearing things about how when he couldn't get a flight on an already overbooked flight, he threw a computer monitor on someone's hand. How he pushed someone out of a moving car. Basically, he sounds like a horrible person. The movie Swimming with Sharks was based on him. It's sort of been a very open secret how awful he is. Everything I've heard about him forever is that he's awful to work for. He's very demanding. He makes his assistant show up at 6 a.m. He just sounds like an awful piece of shit. So he was basically exposed in Hollywood Reporter this week, which I think rightfully so. I'm really sick of people who thinking that kind of toxic behavior is okay at all. In any setting, it's not okay to act the way he acts. Basically, the fact that people quit, never came back. It's a fascinating read about Hollywood and everything like that. But I think, it's unfortunate he acted like that. But I'm glad that he's gone. That he was exposed. Sorry, because I think he's, I think he deserves to be exposed in this way because I don't think people should be putting up with it. But most of the powerful people in Hollywood were putting up with him and promoting him from Denzel Washington to the Coen Brothers to Aaron Sorkin, so forth and so on. But he sounds like a pretty awful person, from yelling at Whoopi Goldberg to doing this thing. He just sounds like a piece of shit. I really don't like, I'd always heard never apply or work for him. And I don't think anything I heard was in the article. I don't know how much of that was myth. I've never met anyone who directly worked for him, but I've always heard, but I'm glad that he's been reassessed, and I hope he rethinks about who he is right now with all this going on and his reputation. So that's kind of all I have to say about that. All right. So now we'll talk about Blue Sky. I had to talk about Scott Rudin. I'm going to take off this hoodie because it's a little hot. Chris Wedge, who's the co-founder and the voice of Scrat, it's Scrat, I guess. Whenever I saw Ice Age, I don't know. But I'm gonna this letter he wrote as the last day. Sorry, hold on. It was a little. The last day of Blue Sky, the lights and everything are getting to me. The last day of Blue Sky was on Friday, and so we're going to read I wanted to read what he wrote for that. He said, for the past 34 years, we like our single-minded character Scrat, have reached for something that at times seemed unattainable. Yet time after time, we've managed to get our arms around our own versions of that elusive acorn. Unfortunately, it's not possible to hold on to anything forever. We've had more fun bringing our movies to life than anyone should be allowed. We hope that you've been able to feel some of that joy. Thank you from the bottom of our collective blue sky hearts for being with us all these years. With tremendous gratitude, co-founder Chris Wedge and your friends at Blue Sky Studios. I think it is sad. I think I've talked about Blue Sky before. I know there's been this whole tax thing, which I think is more of they changed the tax clarifications on things and rules changed and maybe they misinterpreted that. But I don't know if that's necessarily like fraud, but whatever. I'm not Cartoon Brew trying to make articles work and ignoring important things in animation. So I don't, do those things. But I think Blue Sky, they had a pretty significant legacy. They're one of the big CG studios. I wish Netflix or whomever had bought them up, as we're hearing. I'm talking about two big Netflix deals this show, which cost upwards of almost 500 million and $1 billion. And they clearly could have at least bought up Blue Sky. But I think the Blue Sky was caught in a very delicate position because they were going through a transitional phase, and what happened is they clearly were turning things around with Nimona and what was it, Spies Like Us? No, the spy thing. Damn it, I saw that with the spy movie. With those things, it did feel like they were changing things up and they weren't relying so much on the Ice Age franchise or Rio or something like that. And saying, they couldn't make more Peanuts movies, it sounded like. But I really hope that I really thought that they could have turned into something great. And because they're in sort of a vulnerable position, Spies in Disguise, thank you, Nathaniel Foga. Because they're in that vulnerable position, a studio could be like, oh, well, you're not there yet, so whatever. And that sort of stinks. So I hope them the best. It sounds like from everything we've read that they're all getting pretty prized positions at other studios. I hope Chris Wedge, I feel like he's probably going to go to Netflix. It sounds like, or some of these guys just retire. He's probably got enough money. He can do whatever the fuck he wants, but we'll see what happens there. But it is sad to really officially, this is probably the last Blue Sky news unless Cartoon Brew decides, I don't know, they didn't recycle things correctly or something like that. But most likely I think this is it for Blue Sky, which is sad. I think Nimona could have been something. I wish it had happened, but it's not. So Bong Joon-ho had we haven't heard about him in a while. Which I like hearing about that guy on a regular. He's an interesting character. He was talking about he was talking about how he gets up every day early to watch a movie. He'd love to make an animated film. He was giving his opinion on everything, but he's still an original, and you gotta love him for that. So now is the time we talk about Justice League, because we got to do that every show, I guess. Gotta talk about Justice League. Cool. I guess. Alright, so first thing is Chris Terrio. This is the funnier one of the two. Chris Terrio opened up to Vanity Fair that he was so upset that his real good script that was not bad at all didn't become really good. Now, Chris Terrio, who's the writer of... So here's the thing I like about Chris Terrio. He is not a good writer. And I think we know this at this point. He's doing the same thing that... what's his face? The guy... The sexual harasser guy who wrote the Will Smith thing with the orcs. He wrote the live action Onward. I don't know. Who cares? Point is He's like him, where it's like, no, no, my scripts are good, but these directors mess them up. I'm like, dude, like, I don't think that's true. If you keep having stinkers, it just doesn't work. Yeah, like I said, the guy who directed the live action Onward, and I think nepotism, I can't think of his name, and why should I bring it up? Because I've never liked him very much. He made one good movie, and that's, I don't know. It's Max Landis. Sorry. Um, I just don't like him. But the Chris Terrio, I think it's like, dude, you're the last in line. This is after the story I'm going to talk about, directly after the Ray Fisher article finally came out. It just felt like were you the last person they could get at this point? Like, why are we still talking about this fucking Snyder cut? Like, it was just, please stop. Like, he also wrote Rise of Skywalker, and that I think that would have gone down as more legendarily bad if the pandemic hadn't happened, because no one was gonna rewatch that. But I think, like, if it had been a normal cycle, that would be the. But he made like Batman v Superman. He wrote that, Justice League, and then Rise of Skywalker. Like, dude is done. He stinks. Like, it is. No. I know you wrote Argo. He's done nothing else but like blockbuster things, and they're all garbage. It's just, he is a bad writer. He's saying he wants to take his name off. He's performing. He's no. I'm sorry. Um, but Ray Fisher finally came out and did the full article kind of thing. There has been a lot of discussion, and like I've said, I stand with Ray Fisher. I agree with him coming out, but the idea that he wasn't doing, I think, what like Charisma Carpenter did, where she's like, here are the allegations, that's it, I'm going home, see ya. And Ray Fisher like kept doing it, and a lot of people didn't. Not that, yeah, it just, he didn't. This is what he should have done, but he tried to explain it. Anyway, I stand with him. I agree with him doing the investigation. I think he did the right thing. We have a super chat from Ryan Walderson. Bright fell on its face so Onward could just walk. Wow. I mean, I don't disagree, but cheers to you, Ryan. Anyway, Ray Fisher came out in Hollywood Reporter, talked about how much of a bully Joss Whedon is. He basically tried to end Gal Gadot's career. He threatened Patty Jenkins. He basically threatened everyone. He doesn't even take notes from Robert Downey Jr., which is like, all right. I would like some of the Avengers to come out and be like, yeah, he wasn't. Like, I'd like to know what happened on the set of Age of Ultron, which is supposed to be. I've never heard it went well, but, and about apparently, like, the people at Warner were trying to get him to say booyah, which I think almost everyone commented, like, he isn't this kind of cyborg who says booyah. But it's also like, then why do you make these dark movies that you were insisting on corporately if you wanted Cyborg to say booyah? It just sounds like a fucking mess. And Ray Fisher was kind of offended because he's like, hey, I'm the one black character, and I have suddenly I'm the only one who has like a catchphrase that's a little that doesn't look great. And I agree with him on that. He is just I hope for him, I hope for the best for Ray Fisher. I hope he gets to continue his career. It seems like he was kind of shut out of the Flash sequel and everything like that, but he I don't think, they let this behavior exist. They let Joss Whedon bully them. The fact that they had to have meetings to calm him down. It seems like the only one who could really fight back was Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins, because they were like what the fuck is this guy? It was also like, here's the one thing I don't get about this Justice League thing. Like, why didn't they give it to, like, did Patty Jenkins say no? Like, why Joss Whedon? Like, it was clearly not working out. Like, it's like you probably knew more of than I know about what happened with Marvel. It just seems like such a disaster. But I'm glad Ray Fisher stood up for people, and like, apparently the allegations he doesn't want to talk about, which was threatening other people's jobs, made them uncomfortable. I will say I very much support him doing that, actually, because if those people are not comfortable speaking, which I think that's one thing during this Me Too era we don't talk enough about, is if you I understand you want to help someone, but if you say, like, I want to tell HR or something, and they say, I don't want to, sadly, that is their choice. And you, unless it's like life threatening or case by case basis, you have to sort of respect them. And I respect him for respecting people's personal boundaries while he's going through this thing, which clearly like was affecting him and bothered him and sounded tough. And like, you know, that's actually really cool of him to be like, I don't want people to lose their jobs who were not doing these kind of things. I don't want to ruin their reputation the way I'm doing it to mine, basically. And it's like, you know what? That's a stand-up guy right there. Because as much as like people are like, what is he doing with announcing this and stuff? I completely respect someone who went through this and worked on it as hard as he is and sacrificed his career. And you know what? Respect to Ray Fisher for that, because that's a tough thing. And I'm sure like there are probably times he was like, it'd be really easy if I just told you this, but I don't want to do that to whomever. And respect to him. So you know, I hope he gets more happens with him. I hope he was in True Detective season 3. I think people forget about that. And I know apparently on stage you did a good Muhammad Ali. I didn't see it, but that's what I've always heard. But you know, I'm glad he got to speak his truth. In my mind, what Ray Fisher did this week is the end of the Justice League story. It's fucking over. Let's drop it. Joss Whedon sucks. We understand what he did. Unless Sarah Michelle Gellar wants to give an interview, or anybody else in the cast of Buffy, or Henry Cavill, or someone like that, in my mind, this shit is done, and we should stop talking about it. And I think it almost felt like Ray Fisher wanted to be like, let's all move on collectively. And I think, you know, good for him. Yeah, let's just end it, Nathaniel Foga. You're right. All right, in other Warner Media things. Now, this is a story that I find interesting in that we've actually literally talked about this before. And sometimes I talk about how like the media will like just sort of re-report it, but from a different angle. So Warner Media confirmed that, as we knew, 2021 was a temporary thing where everything's going same day and date, HBO Max and in theaters. And then in 2022, things will go back to a traditional theatrical kind of release thing. So what's the deal with that? Basically, now we can move on to the Aircut news every week. Oh, Zane Powers, why? No. No. No, you know what? I'm going to say this right now. I want the James Gunn cut. I don't care. Let's just start arguing about it. Of what? I don't know. Pick a movie. Now, I want Zack Snyder to just be able to recut all of cinema if he chooses. Home Alone, Stuart Little, Citizen Kane, something by Bergman. I don't know. Just let him do it. But cheers to you, St. Powers. That the horrific hellspeak ape that is our future. All right, so Embla T. Oh, I forgot to put that in my notes, but thank you, Embla T, for mentioning that. Taylor shared a movie about Fire Spy. I forget the name of it. It's some dumb name. Whatever. It really did. It's not a great name. So Warner Media has said that it was the temporary thing for 2021. And that they will be going back to theatrical in 2022. The thing to note is their deal with Regal is really what changed this and made it official. That deal with Regal or Cineworld or whatever, saying that they will do the 45-day window, is starting in 2022, was the real announcement. It's just like the CEO of Warner was just like, oh yeah, well, we're still going to do that kind of thing. So it could be longer than 45 days. They definitely could. They have not signed deals with AMC. They have not signed deals with Alamo Drafthouse or whomever. Pick a fucking theater chain. They have not. That is true. But we do know that all movies in 2022, which I think the first one is the Batman. That's what everyone says. I find it odd that Warner Brothers wouldn't release a movie the first 2 months of the year, but we'll see. But it does sound like the HBO Max things that we were getting this year is not going to continue, which, like, fucking duh. I didn't think it would. Those Who Wish Me Dead, that's what it's called? Okay. Thank you, Embla. I did watch it, and so for some reason that missed my thing. So thank you for doing that. All right, so the Netflix Sony deal. we're going to talk about two Netflix deals in a row, but the one that is more prevalent to this, the other one's a story about a deal which we talked about last week with Knives Out. But first, we're going to talk about the Netflix Sony deal. The Netflix licensing with Sony means that starting next year in 2022, pretty much everything that Sony puts out its exclusive streaming home for 18 months. So meaning it can't go to another streamer. Once it arrives on Netflix, the first day it has 18 months exclusively on Netflix, and then they can sell it off to Hulu or whomever if they want to, but for 18 months. But the interesting thing about this deal, which was $1 billion deal, was worth $1 billion. It gives them like Spider-Man on streaming. It gives them Jumanji if they make another one of those. I guess they are. Uncharted, which I know is, come on guys, that's going to be the one. All that stuff is going to be exclusively on Netflix. The thing about this is also that they get the theatrical window, then they get to be on demand or purchase digitally or wherever it is, and then go to streaming. So this isn't like an HBO Max thing or a Premier Access thing. It's literally like and no one's sure how long, because everyone's saying like the theatrical window, which used to be 90 days, been shrunk into 45. So basically, like theoretically, the soonest some of these movies could go on Netflix might be 90 days or something like that. But it kind of wants to play its course over what the theatrical window kind of thing is now, which is, theater, on demand or digital or whatever, VOD, and then going to streaming. So that's sort of what the deal is. It's not an amazing deal in that regard, because you think if you're spending $1 billion, you could be like, let's not do on demand. But I think that's still very lucrative. I think I bought more movies digitally and on demand this past year than I had in for ever. And so I think that is something they're still respecting, actually. Nattenbach says, saw that me loved to frame the Netflix Sony deal as Spider-Man won't go on Disney Plus or some crap. ME? Who's ME? I'm not sure what that means. Oh, Midnight's Edge. Okay. No, I did. Okay. Well, cheers to you, Nattenbach 64. You're right. Yeah, a lot of people are going like, Disney really screwed up, but I have a feeling like Netflix went after Sony. The other thing with Sony, why this, and Spider-Verse 2 is going to be going to Netflix under this deal for 18 months. Which also, the for 18 months thing is interesting, because like Morbius will be one of those. Several other movies. Couldn't they just go to Disney Plus after that 18 months? I mean, they technically could. Yeah, I noticed people are saying like, oh, Disney's at war with Sony. I'm like, they're really not. Like, Disney probably could have signed a deal with Sony, or probably was like in competition with Netflix at some point. We don't really know. There hasn't been an article showing like what the deal making process was. I think if Disney really wanted to, they could pony up the money. Maybe they can't, and Sony just needs the extra cash, and they're going to be making things for Netflix, and I think that worked out for them on that one. Also, Sony doesn't really have a streaming service. There's no Sony Plus or Sony Max or whatever. They have Crackle, but I mean, that's not really a thing. I mean, they could have made it what Pluto and Tubi is, but they, I guess, haven't. So they don't really have a streaming service, so they're going to just do what the old studios used to do and make all their money on licensing. So might as well make $1 billion deal with Netflix, and they're also still making all their money off on demand and theaters, and they're also getting the money for each of these licensing things separately. This was just $1 billion to be exclusively Netflix. So this very much works out for Sony. It's a great deal for Sony. It's a great deal for Netflix, because the Spider-Man movies all do well on demand and on home video and things like that. And I'm sure when those go on Netflix, that'll be great. And hey, I guarantee you when the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies show up on Netflix, because this also helps their catalog stuff, I should bring up. Oh, they don't own Crackle anymore. Okay, everybody's like, stop. Okay, sorry. Well, they had Crackle at one point. They don't have anything. They don't even have Crackle. Shit. Sorry. And I think I reported on that, so I apologize. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but Sony seems like they were smart to figure out something with Netflix. And I think it works out for Netflix to have a different studio making things exclusively for them, having their legacy stuff, which they have Columbia. They have a lot of good big studios, so we'll see. All right, so Knives Out. We got an article from Hollywood Reporter kind of detailing what happened with Knives Out and the deal. They called it a 469 million power play, which is like, whoa. So under this deal, Ryan Johnson, Daniel Craig, and some producer guy whose name I didn't remember, are going to get north of 100 million, meaning probably more than $100 million for the two movies, which some people are saying they're getting 100 million for one movie. They're not getting 100 million for one movie. They're getting probably like 56 or I don't know. I'm not their accountant, but they're getting like 50 million per movie, which is still an obscene amount. And we don't really know how much they're making. It sounds like over 100 million. We don't know how much over. This is to take care of back end deals. This is to pay them the fuck out. This is also to pay them exclusively for those two movies. But the interesting thing is, one of the funny things I really find hilarious about this deal is, even though each of these guys is making over $100 million, they said that the movies must cost around like 40 to 60 million like the original, which is like, wait, hold up. What? So it's like $400 million deal, and these movies are ultimately going to cost like $50 million. Like, that's hilarious. That is fucking hilarious to me. That is really funny. I just find that to be absolutely hilarious. Nattenbox64 just watched tonight's WrestleMania. It was fun. Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Cheers to you, Nattenbox64. What's also interesting is to find out not many of them made a lot off of Knives Out, it seems like, from just the production. But Ryan Johnson had just a deal with MRC, and we're planning on doing something with Lionsgate, but found a way out of it and signed this massive deal with Netflix. I'm surprised more people aren't making their own properties after this. This, to me, really promotes people making their own properties, because, like, holy shit. I really don't think Knives Out, I mean, I don't think it made 400 whatever, but when you cut it in half, you're like, oh, well, so each of these costs, like, let's say 230 something. That's about, it made about, I think, 300 some box office wise. That's not as crazy if we're really getting into it. And you have 100, and that's just box office. I know it did well on demand and it did well on streaming. So, I think, and it got memed a lot, and I know that's something Netflix cares about. And, I know the Blu-ray sales were pretty good. So I think it's actually, it sort of works out when you really plan out the deal, but it is kind of hilarious how much they're making off of it, and then how much they want to spend on it, which doesn't sound like either of these movies will cost over $100 million, which is insane that, like, these guys are walking away with so much. But also, it really works out for Daniel Craig, who's really wanted a second franchise and has been trying for a long time, and he got it, basically. Before we get into trailers and stuff, I know I kind of got you guys all into the Spielberg kind of biopic movie. After I told you all the Spielberg fact, I think that was a couple weeks ago. Check out when that was. But Paul Dano is going to be playing Spielberg's dad. Casting right now has been Michelle Williams playing his mom, Paul Dano is playing his dad, and Seth Rogen is playing like his favorite uncle or something. This really works out for Paul Dano, who's been kind of an indie kind of darling, kind of, an actor's actor kind of guy, because he also has the Batman where he's Riddler, and then he's going into a Spielberg movie. His career is red hot. I expect him to be pretty massive after this. This Spielberg movie, I have a very good feeling about, just because it's such an interesting story, and I was wondering who they would get to play him. To be honest, I thought they'd get like Daniel Day, or I was like, is Mark Rylance in this in some capacity? I feel like he just was like, let's get Mark Rylance and everything. But I like that choice, as like I've seen a lot of documentaries about his father and stuff like that. I like both the casting. I think they're interesting casting, and I'm still very curious about this movie, especially that he's written it and everything's done with it. I think this is like the Spielberg movie to be excited about. I'm excited about this. So, I don't know if he's going to do the twist, but to me, I'm also like, who's the guy who's going to play the guy who's the family friend whose mom leaves him for and all that stuff. It's really interesting. But Spielberg's dad helped do a lot of computer work and everything like that. So I think that anyway, it's going to be interesting. Nanbox64, before we do trailers and stuff, says, saw the trailer for the upcoming Guy Ritchie movie starring Jason Statham and Post Malone. Doesn't look half bad. I agree with you. And it doesn't look... I killed this Red Bull. Second Red Bull. Thank you for all the super chats tonight, Nanbox. Cheers to you. It does, and it doesn't look very Guy Ritchie, so I agree with that. Mark Rylance will play his favorite grandpa. Nice, MLT. Okay. So, moving on to trailers and stuff. First, what was the Angelina Jolie movie? Now I gotta scroll up because I forgot it already. Remember when I said Crackle was owned by Sony? Okay. Those Who Wish Me Dead, the Angelina Jolie film, directed by Taylor Sheridan. Taylor Sheridan is someone who I really liked for two movies, which was Sicario and Hell and High Water. I really like those movies a lot. And then I didn't like Sicario 2, and then he's doing Yellowstone, which I haven't watched. I heard was pretty good. But Those Who Wish Me Dead is part of the HBO Max deal. It has Angelina Jolie in it. It looks like a cool kind of survival movie where she's looking out she was someone who had people die in a fire, and now there's this kid she watches after the wilderness so that forest fires happen, and this kid's being hunted by two kind of bounty hunters or something, who I think isn't one of them. If it's not one of the guys who was the guys going after MT and Infinity Train, it was someone who looks like someone like that, are going after him. That it looks like a good thriller. It looks like what I wanted from Little Things That Didn't Get. But it looks like a good thriller. I would like a good Taylor Sheridan movie. I didn't like Wind River. I know a lot of people do. I never put out a review of it. It wasn't my thing so much. The Loki trailer, the Loki trailer looked really cool. This looks like a lot of fun, all the time stuff with Loki. I'm curious because looking at Falcon and Winter Soldier and the reception, it seems like people like the weirder Marvel stuff and less of the straightforward stuff. So this might be more around people's thing. The Street Gang trailer. I keep saying Street Gang. I feel like there's a different term for it. When Ryan sent me the trailer, he said Street Gang. I thought it was a B action movie, and it's really about Sesame Street. And that trailer looked really great. I mean, of course that looks great, but I'm excited for that documentary. The second Cruella trailer came out. It looked a little better. It looks very camp. I'm a little into the camp idea of it, but I'm still not totally sold on it. Jupiter's Legacy trailer. It's basically part of the Mark Millar Netflix deal. It looks all right. I'm sure it'll do well. Umbrella Academy did well for them. It kind of just looks like a traditional superhero thing. What of the next generation, all that. Fine. I don't really have high opinions on that, to be honest with you. And before I get into that, we have a super chat from Natbox says that Sheridan movie reminded me of Only the Brave. That is a good point, Natbox64. Thank you for the super chat again. Cheers to you. And we got a Ghostbusters clip, not a trailer, just a clip of Paul Rudd, which now everyone has these conspiracies about him and Baskin Robbins, and because he did the Baskin Robbins things in Ant-Man, and now in Ghostbusters Afterlife there's him and Baskin Robbins. I will say though, to add to this conspiracy theory, as someone who does eat some ice cream, if you couldn't tell from looking at me, and does go into his ice cream aisle in the supermarket, I have rarely seen Baskin Robbins pint things in a grocery store ever. That is something I never see in those quantities. So I will say right now, I'm totally with you on that conspiracy because I wasn't before, and suddenly, uh, suddenly I went, okay, I think there might be something there. I think there might be something there. Okay. Oh, super chats won't allow cursing. I didn't know that. That stinks. The fuck. Sidebar from Ryan Walsh that said Teletoon finally aired Infinity Train Book 3 this week. Holy shit. That is a little crazy. That's like way too late. I'm sorry about that, Ryan. Well, I hope you finally get to see it right in time. I feel like you've probably already seen it, but cheers to you. Cheers to you, Ryan. Thank you. But the clip was good. I think it was Marley said on Twitter that it reminded him of sort of Gremlins, which I was like, oh yeah, it does. That's actually a very good point. It looked cool. Like that was one of my favorite clips. Like that got me more into it than a trailer. And people are saying, oh, it's the baby Yodification of Ghostbusters, blah 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 blah. I was like, who cares? It just looks like a cool clip. There's a lot going on. It was very much like an animated thing, like all the little Stay Puft Marshmallow Man's like sliding on, like cooking themselves on a grill. And those aren't real gas things on the grills in the stores. I hope everyone knows that. But for the scene, it works better. I get it. Say, or like the ones, there one who was making himself into a s'more. He was like cuddling up. Like there's so much detail in that scene. I really liked it. Like I thought that was really cool. It made me excited. I'm hoping nobody puts out a video where like, I'm not going to review Ghostbusters Afterlife. I feel like that's going to happen. And then, you know what's funny? After I watched it, 2 days later, the YouTube algorithm was like, oh, do you want to watch a clip of Jason Reitman yelling at Rainn Wilson on the set of Juno? And I did watch that, and he seems like sort of a jerk. But that being Jason Reitman. But it looked like a cool clip. Paul Rudd looks fun in it. It looks like a fun Ghostbusters movie. That's this made me think more of it. But I will say, that Baskin Robbins thing is suspect. Whatever's going on with that conspiracy. But if he does not make a Mac and Me reference in, isn't it's like a movie where they're in like the Midwest or whatever with like some supernatural stuff. I feel like if there's not a Mac and Me reference, I'm gonna be really upset. You know. Really upset. I listened to the AVGN interview with Double Toasted. It seems like he sort of regrets that whole thing. So, I think he sort of was like, oh, geez, this thing. So he's a good guy. The Holy Sheet is my review of Book 3. That's a good review. So now I'm just going to talk about release date stuff. Let's just make this its own section at this point. For release dates, oh man, we're running out of time here because we have a long Obit thing here too. Hotel Transylvania 4 Transformia is now coming out 2 weeks earlier on July 23rd, despite the fact that no children will be vaccinated and probably shouldn't go in a theater. So that's really nice of you guys. And then Top Gun Maverick was pushed back to November. It was going to come out 4th of July, which I think if theaters weren't opening and more studios weren't as... Because a lot of people are putting emphasis on that Top Gun date. If studios hadn't been so pro and know what they were doing, I don't think they wanted to push it back because the industry was sort of relying on that date. But since I guess they're not as much anymore, they moved it to November 19th, pushing Mission Impossible back to 2022, May 27th, 2022 for Mission Impossible 7. For Mission Impossible 8 is July 7th, 2023, which Mission Impossible 8 I don't think has even started filming, so we'll see about that one. But I believe it's Transformania, sorry. But I believe Mission Impossible 7 is done, but that I think will make its date of 2022. Snake Eyes is now going to be released on July 23rd, 2021. And on the July 2nd date that Top Gun had right before or whatever, who knows? I can't keep track of release dates. And it seems like even when I listen to other reporter podcasts, they can't either. The Forever Purge will be coming out July 2nd, which is cool. I'm excited for a new Purge, to be honest with you. And then they also mapped out a date for a new Star Trek movie called June 9th, 2023. We'll see about that. I'm a little suspect on that one. I think they just did it to say like, hey, we're doing things, but it's supposedly not the Tarantino script. It's not a follow-up to the J.J. Abrams thing, but we know that J.J. Abrams is producing whatever the fuck it's supposed to be. Transformania. Oh, I get it. Transylvania. Okay. Like, I just got it. And then in final release date news, Tomorrow's War is coming to Amazon on July 2nd. This is starring Chris Pratt. Not Pine, Pratt, I believe. There's so many Chris's who can tell the difference. It's about time travelers come to the present day to tell mankind that in the future they're losing a global war against a deadly alien species. The time travelers must recruit soldiers and civilians from the present to be transferred to the future to join the fight. Pratt, okay, good, plays high school teacher and family man Dan Forrester, who is determined to save the world for his young daughter. He teams up with the brilliant scientist and his estranged father, played by J.K. Simmons, because why not? And that sounds cool. So those are some release date things we got this week. Zane Powers says, I thought Sony wanted HT to be a long-running series. Which HT? What do you mean HT? Hotel Transylvania. I thought they did too, but it sounds like it's the last one for now. I'm a little confused about that too. I'm surprised they're not going to keep it going. Maybe they're just giving it a break and then they'll reboot it or whatever. But yeah, I was a little surprised by that too. But that's a good point, Zane Powers. Thank you for that. Cheers to you. Everybody hates this, Chris. Nice. All right, what do we have left? Because I need to prioritize. Okay. Great. Of course we're going to go over. Okay, so apparently there is going to be... Well, we can do this quick, I believe. So I didn't watch that, so that can go away. Okay. There are some things with the SAG Awards that lead to Oscar predictions. One is Viola Davis won for Best Actress, meaning it might work out for her on Oscar night. We'll see. And also that Chicago 7 won for Best Ensemble, which everyone says that's like their best picture. I'm like, but isn't it called Best Ensemble? And didn't Chicago 7 have a really good ensemble? And Nomadland sort of didn't. So, of course, that's what's going to win. I don't know, whatever. Those are the only real Oscar things from that. Everybody else won like you thought they would. And then we hear... Yeah, so Saw 10 apparently is in early active development. We don't know, is this a sequel to the Spiral from the book of Saw or Saw continuing the Saw thing? No one's sure what it's going to be, but it seems like they very much have a lot of faith in their new Saw movie as they're actively developing another Saw movie. But we know nothing about this. I've seen so many people go on and on about what this could be or would be. Guess what we know? We know nothing. We just know they're making another one potentially. It could be Saw 10. Although apparently a lot of people point out that if it's called Saw X and you turn that around, it's Xmas and maybe it'll be a Christmas Saw movie. That's the only theory I have any time for because that is a great one. Alex Hirsch has said that if he had the rights to Gravity Falls and it wasn't owned by Disney, he would love to do a video game for season 3 and do some interesting stuff with it. But because Disney owns it and they're not really into interactive games, they won't do anything. That's disappointing. I think it'd be interesting to see him do more things with the property, but that's kind of one of the things when you have these creator-driven things owned by networks or companies who don't seem to know what to do with them. To me, it's like just let him license it out and do what he wants. Might as well make some money in space you're not doing anything with. Why not? We found out Sylvester Stallone will not be in Creed 3. I think this is a good move because Creed 3 shouldn't be with Stallone. I feel like they've sort of ended that gap connecting them, and his arc was over with Creed 2, and I think he needs to move on anyway, and the franchise needs to as well. Although I think he led himself very well to the first two, but it's time to move on. I think we can all agree with that, right? I mean, you know what I mean? I think it's time for him to go. And then, I'm sorry, I'm really running out of, okay, I'll just talk about a few things, then obits, then break, then segments. I think, unfortunately, we will run a bit over tonight again, so I'm not very good at keeping on time. A lot of people are making a big deal about Cartoon Network Europe now being Hanna-Barbera Europe. It didn't seem to be much more than a renaming. I will see if there's more to that, but I think it's cool that there's a Hanna-Barbera studio somewhere. I am pro LeVar Burton hosting Jeopardy. I'm not exactly sure why they haven't. We also found that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to be one of the leads in Indiana Jones 5. Despite like people going really weird about it in various, Geeks and Gamers and Midnight's Edge type of videos, we really don't know what her role is. So like everybody needs to calm down. It seems like Kathleen Kennedy really likes Phoebe Waller-Bridge, as do I, but we don't know what she's doing or if she'll be playing a Phoebe Waller-Bridge type persona. We don't know. So, I don't, and I kept hearing people say like, oh, and they're going to make Indy look stupid. Like the guy's dumb and she's the real smart one. I'm like, wasn't that Raiders of the Lost Ark? Like, do you guys not know Indiana Jones? Like, I don't, like, wasn't she smarter than he's like stupid? Like the point of Indiana Jones is like, he gets punched a lot. Like he's sort of dumb. Like that's the joke. The movie. Did you not watch the movie? I've heard this about a lot of the grifter people that they don't actually like. They just like be like, we're masculinity. So this was a historic deal, and people asked me to talk about that. So I did look into it because I thought it was interesting. Oh, hello, we have 2 super chats in a row. Do you have a Letterboxd account from Jesus B? I do not, because my Letterboxd account is basically my channel, and there's a couple of reasons. First on Jesus B, I'll cheers to you, and I will get to yours. Nattenbach64. I just want to answer this because I get this question a lot. The reason I don't is there's like a million different reasons I watch a movie. Sometimes it's because I'm working on something you never find out about. Sometimes it's because I'm working on a Saber video. Sometimes this and that. And so there wouldn't be too much content on there. So that's honestly why I don't do it. It sounds like a cool service. I've checked it out. I think it'd be fine, but it's honestly more, it's more just because I don't really want to just post like a sentence of my review or something like that. So I just don't. And it's the one I don't know if there's a way to connect my YouTube channel to it. Maybe I would. I know people have made like a fake one based on my reviews, and that's fine. But yeah, I just don't. Those are my reasons. I hope that makes sense to you. But thank you for the super chat, GSB, and thank you for asking. Nattenbach64 says, from what I can tell on HB Studios Europe, the operation will remain the same as before. Yeah, it didn't seem like there's too much. It seemed like people were just excited that there was another HB or Hanna-Barbera Studios. That's all there was. But cheers to you, Nattenbach64. So I'm going to try to explain this Macross Robotech thing. Originally, Harmony Gold and Big West basically were having this argument over who should be able to license Macross, which was the original show in Japan, and Robotech, which was a new show they made out of the footage from Macross. Now, in the 90s, it was a little different where, like, Macross was was like the like Robotech in the future, basically. That's what they told me in the 90s. But they worked out a deal so outside of Japan, they can start merchandising and licensing and releasing Robotech stuff on streaming services and so forth, and Macross as well. So when I got into anime in the 90s, Macross, or it was Macross Plus, which I should review because that was like such a big deal when that came out to me. Those two, I think, those were kind of the big franchises of the time. So it's exciting that they worked out a deal. This has not held up or messed with the movie, the Robotech movie. I'm a little confused. Why don't they just call it a Macross movie? Because Macross sounds a little cooler than Robotech. Robotech was one of the big animes that got a lot of people into anime, so I understand that. But it's a little unfortunate that they kept fighting over like who owns the property and what it is and things like that. I'm a little surprised that like they didn't just, because it feels like what happened with Godzilla, for example, is we're really not seemingly respecting a lot of the US dubs. We're kind of moving more towards just the Japanese thing. I'm a little surprised they didn't just like let the Robotech thing die, but I'm assuming because Harmony Gold feels those rights are valuable, which is fair because of the difference in that. And it's weird, like the redubbing and reshaping of properties like that. So we'll see what happened, but it seems to work out for most fans. And I think a lot of things that were not given official releases will finally get them. And then finally, before I take a break, and we actually have a cool thing from Austin and the podcast I did with Austin. This is something that not a lot of people are talking about, and I left it towards the end of the news parts, but I still think it's important. with movie theaters opening up, it's opening them also up to being evicted, actually. Before, landlords could not demand that their rent be paid until they were open for business. But since states have basically opened up and let their businesses have opened up and let movie theaters reopen, these theaters can be asked for rent. And that is actually what happened to the ArcLight in Los Angeles. And we're hearing about it from various theaters, smaller theater chains throughout the country. So we're going to continue to hear about that probably. And you'll probably hear about a lot of theaters closing because they will have to pay all that back rent for this past year when they were closed. So it might be that we hear theaters closing right away. It might be that we hear theaters closing, because of all the debt that they've kind of taken on because of this year off. We'll see what's going to happen, but this is a real kind of story that I didn't see a lot of publicity about, which was unfortunate because I think it is a major issue going forward. I think almost everyone knew that the theater chains would be, or the screens that we had, the theater count we have would not hold up. That looks like we're going to see more and more of that come into play, because before they weren't having to pay that rent. Now they are, and apparently a lot of these people aren't like, oh, you can pay it in installments or something like that. They're like, no, we want it in full. And if I've never been to the ArcLight in LA, but to my understanding, it's a major theater. If that were to close down, that could majorly hit the LA market, which is one of the most major markets in America, and we might see that from other major major theaters in America. So we'll see, and worldwide, frankly, because COVID was everywhere. All right, so in obituaries we have a significant amount, actually. So yes, I think we will run a bit long. What did Ryan Wilson say? Ha ha ha! Thanks, Ryan. All right, so first off, for obituaries, DMX sadly passed away this week at 50 years old. I was listening to hip hop in the late 90s, so I very much grew up with DMX being always around. It's sad to hear him go. He was just always like this crazy, insane presence in hip hop. You never were sure what to do with him, but he was he was an experience. He was a character, that guy. So it's very sad to see him go. I did post that thing where I was like, hey, let's not talk about it until the family wants to. Most likely he died that day or that night, but the family didn't want to deal with the public thing. So if you ever see something like that, just wait until it's official, because it's not so much about like getting internet clout. It's more about like, his family obviously was going through something. So pretty significant. So maybe, be like sort of chill. That's all I'm saying. Until it's like official, because, you're not the only one who uses social media. Maybe they don't follow you, but that sort of stuff spreads, so be respectful. But I think the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer thing, which I shared and Jack shared a lot better than me, was kind of like showed you like how fun that guy really could be, as serious and as like angry as he always seemed in the music videos and things like that. He had like this effervescent spirit, I think, for everything. We had Mark Elliott, who was the voice of a lot of the Disney commercials and things like that. Trailers and so forth, died this past week, which I think so much of his voice was throughout all of our childhoods. Sad to see him go. We had some character actors, particularly Paul Ritter and James Hampton, both died this week. Paul Ritter we saw in things like Quantum of Solace and one of the Harry Potters, and James Hampton, who we saw in Sling Blade and Teen Wolf, as well as Ralph Schuckett, I think, who was the composer on Pokemon the movie and did a lot of composing for anime. Died this past week. I'm sure a lot of his music was things you grew up with and loved and listened to. So RIP to him as well. And then finally, this is like the longest obituary I think we've ever done on here. Walter Altschwitz, I think, who was in Twin Peaks, is kind of one of the, I guess, poker master people or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. He also died this past week. So RIP to him as well. All right, so I'm going to play this segment from a review, interview Austin on the podcast that we can hear right now did with me. That is coming. I'm not sure when it's coming out. Austin can tell you the details and post his link in the chat. But he gave me this segment to play, and I will happily play it because he did a good interview, and it's really good, and I'm proud of that one. So I'm going to play that. I'm going to take a quick break. Then we will do one of the segments. I forget which one's first. And we'll do the 3 segments and then questions. And that's how we're going to do it. So here we go with, it's a card shark. Thank you, everybody. Here we go with Austin's clip from his podcast, Callbacks.
Okay, so should I tell my SpongeBob
Yeah, you can tell
movie?
it.
Okay, so when I saw the first SpongeBob movie, I was a fan. I don't think I'm as big a fan as everyone now, but I at least had a VHS full of SpongeBob episodes I taped in EP, so that's 6 hours, son. Sorry, I don't know why I said it that way. But so I watched it pretty regularly, and it came out around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was around then, I believe. But
yeah,
it was
I think it came out on my birthday. Like,
yeah, really? Okay. I think anyway, it was in theaters then. And so the thing with my dad and going to movies with me is he's always a film dork, and I took him to see some stuff. Like we saw Pi, which is the first Darren Aronofsky thing in theaters. And then like years later, he was like, "Oh, Jim knows his shit because like we just saw this big auteur before anyone, like no one knew he was going to be what he is, well, I guess not as much now, but I got them early. I got him to see Fight Club, like all sorts. He'd always be like, Jim picks the movie because I'll pick something he would never hear of. And he was like, what do you want to see? What's the thing you want to see most of theaters? I'm like, Home from College and stuff. I'm like, SpongeBob the movie. And he was like, okay, let's go. And he had a decent enough time, but he was like, sometimes he's like, I forgot you like animation. I thought we were gonna say he thought, and I was like, because I looked at the art theater, I didn't completely just do a goof. It was like the thing I really wanted to see the most in theaters, and yeah, I remember having a decent enough time with it. I like the soundtrack. If you take out the Avril Lavigne song, it's a good soundtrack.
It does have that Avril Lavigne song. It has,
actually, I will say when I burned the soundtrack to CD, I unclicked that track, and I tell people that soundtrack's amazing. And they're like, well, yeah, but that Avril Lavigne song at the beginning, I just didn't put that on mine. And then it was really good. And everyone was like, oh, and like I'd have it on. I had a couple people over, and like, this is a good soundtrack. So I was definitely a stan, I guess, or I was like really pushing the SpongeBob soundtrack for a couple months, minus Avril Lavigne. I did my own editing.
Okay, I'm back. I also wanted to show, where is it? This image by Ace the Wind Rider, cool fan art right here. I wanted to show that as well because that's really cool. Did a good job. I'll have to do the Jedi one later, Ace the Wind Rider, but that's some cool fan art. I need to repost that on the gram. Good job there, Ace the Wind Rider. Just wanted to say that, and whoa, there's me again. Okay. All right. But yeah. All right. So, where are we at? Where's my script? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Check out the interview. I'm not sure when it's going up, Awesome, but I want to listen to your Corey Coleman interview. I've been meaning to do that actually. But I'm really proud of that interview. I think he did a good job. But yeah. Sorry, I need some energy. And subscribe to Austin's channel. It's good. He's got some good stuff. All right, we're going to do Monster Pets first because that's how I feel, I guess. So first segment is there was a short released online. It was exclusively in theaters, but it has been released, I think, in front of all movies. It really wasn't clear what movies it's playing in front of. However, the short that Monster Pets, a Hotel Transylvania short, was released, basically is about Tinkles has too much energy and just wants to play ball, and Drac has to find him a playmate. It's a pretty short little clip there. And all you get is like various different creatures. You get like a shark, a snake, a little dog, a cat, like all these different creatures. It's kind of a cool way to show off the kind of weirder, more fun cartoony style of Hotel Transylvania 3. This feels like very much like living in the universe that Genndy has left them with. This was written and directed by Jennifer Kulska, who also worked on DC Superhero Girls. Because I was like, that name looks familiar, because Sophie's been watching DC Superhero Girls a lot. And then Derek Dryman, who also, they co-directed this together. They're doing Hotel Transylvania 4, as well as this. So this kind of gives you a sense of what Hotel Transylvania 4 will be like. If you're curious, like, what would that be like without Genndy? To me, this looks like very much at home in this. It also reminds me of the recent DC Superhero Girls, as well as how the animation moves and flows, and it flows very much in a very cartoony, fun way. And it's a simple premise, like show off different cool character designs of like fantasy creatures. They had like a Franken dog, they had everything like that. Brian Hall is the one, or Brian Hull, Hull, does the voice of Drac, not Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler, I guess, doesn't do shorts, much like someone out there. Hey, Soph, do you want to go see Mom? Okay, hold on, everybody. Do you want to go see Mom? I know it's too bright, but I'm doing a stream right now. Okay, hold on, everybody. Are you okay? Sorry, Daddy's starting with people. Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. She's okay. She just woke up and wants to be with Mom. She did not like how bright it was. I think, did everyone hear that? I think everyone did. Yeah. All right. Everyone hear the it's too bright. All right. Where were we? Deadbug's like, yes, we did hear that. I think this is a short. It's a short of Hotel Transylvania, but it's actually like a pretty cool one. You just get a sweet little glimpse of Hotel Transylvania. You don't get too much. It's not too annoying, and it has enough inventiveness to it that it kind of keeps its energy up, which I really liked about it. It was like I wanted to watch it again. Like if I saw this in theaters, it would like get me into seeing movies, or seeing animation. And it was sort of the best of the franchise, really, which I think is really what worked about it. So if you have a chance to see Monster Pets, it is on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's everywhere. It's a nice watch. If you enjoy the series, it doesn't disappoint. It kind of lives up to what you really like about the series so far. So I actually kind of recommend it, actually, if you were a kid likes it, if a kid likes Hotel Transylvania, it's very much, I'd say a must watch, because it's a good watch. All right, hey, Sidram's back. You can hear Buster. All right, so let's get into Falcon and Winter Soldier. Because obviously there's spoilers with this one. I will write spoilers in the chat. We will get to Birdgirl directly after this. Sorry, spoilers. And I will do the clap if you want to skip this section or mute it or whatever you want to do. So this was the episode I think that most people seem to really like. It's because you saw more things coming together. You also had the dramatic ending part. What I liked about that, what I like about this episode is something that I kind of wanted them to get more into, and I think they get into more now, is that even the villains have much more of a complex thing. It's like no one's really just a villain. You kind of understand not necessarily that I agree with what U.S. Agent did, you understand how that character works. And there's a really smart moment with John Walker before the incident at the end, where you see that he is talking to his friend Battlestar, and he's saying how if he had the super soldier thing, what would have happened in Iraq would have never happened, and he could have saved all those people, and how that really like gnawed at him basically. And he had cool. The cats are fighting. Hey. All right, this place is getting a little too wild now. But we understand like what really bothers him is losing people who are his friends, or it bothers him what happens to his friends basically. That personally upsets him. But when we see what happens when Battlestar is killed, it makes sense because they set that up correctly. Now it is in the same episode, and I think this episode almost works individually, whereas the other episodes sort of worked as a whole. This one works almost as a piece unto itself within that, which I think was smart, because if you didn't have that moment right before, if it was like 2 episodes ago, it wouldn't represent as much. But having us understand John Walker, I think made that moment more prevalent, because you knew as soon as you saw Battlestar go down what that represented to him. And I think that made it scarier and powerful in ways that was kind of very disturbing. But I like that they did that, because it seems like Marvel's sometimes very good at making you understand, like Thanos, like Loki or so forth. More so Thanos, I guess. Understanding like why they do something, and it kind of makes it a little more thought out. There are sort of narrative problems with like fully getting into the 5-year gap thing, fully getting into things of that nature. I liked when the Dara Minaj Melage, I think, showed up. That sequence was great. I also like that John Walker was really upset that they could just kick his ass. I thought that was like hilarious. And I think there was a bit of a power play, like, wait, they can just do that, but I'm America. I'm like, they're Wakanda, dude. Like, you're not like, and this also shows, I think, what's going on with Falcon kind of plays underneath a lot of it, because Winter Soldier, we're understanding his psyche. Zemo, we already sort of know that. John Walker, we're understanding his psyche, but Falcon, we're not seeing that. But they're kind of, at first I was very critical of it, because it's like, why are we understanding the inner psyches of everyone but Falcon? But Falcon, we see him talking to the Flag Smashers, we see him trying to reach out to people in a way, showing what works about Anthony Mackie's character. Anthony Mackie plays it perfectly, and it feels like he's always even if the writing feels like it's not building towards it, he is building towards it, and I think it works a lot better in that way. I also like the Turkish, good night, Super Drive Minion. I feel like I will see you when you're leaving. Oh, and Daniel Vasquez says, have you ever been sold out on a movie before? I was. That's how I didn't see Passion of the Christ, and did see Fog of War, which is better. I still haven't seen Passion of the Christ, but cheers to you, Daniel Vasquez. I like how the Turkish Delights play into this. Turkish Delights are not good. Like, Edmund had bad taste in candy. I think anyone, everyone should know that. But I did like that kind of callback to Lion, Wish, and Wardrobe, because I really like that character. The other thing I think this shows is how things can go wrong without a strong symbol, a strong leadership, which obviously they don't have without Captain America. But it also shows how ineptitude leadership is really what falters, because John Walker comes in as like rah America, like Falcon, Winter Soldier are being respectful. They're not like showing off the whole time. They're not like showing the wings off. Like they just like normal people on the street. And John Walker shows up in Captain America guard, doesn't understand anyone who can beat him, all this stuff. And it's sort of just a whole, like it kind of questions America, and more so in this, and is a little more subversive than I think the show you expect it to be, and particularly how it's using it. And that end shot where he's holding the bloody shield, showing the negative that he could do, but it also shows, if you look at how many times Steve would give up the shield because he felt that he wasn't worthy of it and things like that, which also goes into, I think, Falcon, because Falcon questions himself as a leader, whereas John Walker doesn't. I think the best leaders should be the ones who question to question their own leadership and don't just accept that they should be leaders because they are American, which is John Walker, which is ultimately why he's so insecure about himself, because I think he knows he should question himself. Hey Marley, how's it going? I like being called I'm your favorite cowboy. Cheers to you, Marley. I am doing good. I hope you're doing good too. I missed Unsubbed Heroes. You guys, I like that podcast. Anyway, that's what I thought of Falcon and Winter Soldier this week. Okay, so the last segment. I'm sorry, I need to get 3 segments is a bit much, so I apologize. So, as again, this is just a review of, like I said earlier in the show, what I'm doing with Birdgirl is I'm talking about the pilot on the show. I will attach more footage to this when it's a later video, and you will hear the second episode as well when this becomes a separate video. So Birdgirl. The pilot of Birdgirl came out. It's also on YouTube if you'd like to check that out. It's Adult Swim's latest show. It is a spin-off of Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. Birdgirl was in Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, and it was voiced by Pageant Brewster. It seems like a lot of people forgot that Pageant Brewster's been around for a while. She didn't just show up in whatever the last season of Community is, which seems like a lot of people think for some reason. I'm not 100% clear on that one. However, I like this episode because it sets up her neuroses, and it sets up her character while basically doing a simple like supervillain plot, which I don't think entirely is that great, and maybe it doesn't need to be. But that was one of the weaknesses with this one, because I wish the villain had been really good with Birdgirl, but it seems to mostly be... Oh, I should have said spoilers over. Sorry, spoilers over. Forgot about that. I'm not good at... I'm sure maybe Austin did. Sorry about that, everyone. But I guess spoilers for Birdgirl. I didn't think the villain was that amazing or that great or anything like that. I thought the villain with the toilet thing was like kind of funny, but like not that funny. It was a little stupid, to be honest with you. I do kind of like it's used sort of Harvey Birdman humor, but more Birdgirl as her own persona. I'm assuming also why her father died at the beginning is because he's voiced by Stephen Colbert, and Stephen Colbert is very busy. But I like the kind of her relationship with her friend, her green friend, whose name I didn't write down because I'm a stupid person, reminds me of the Harley Ivy relationship a bit, from Harley Quinn, the cartoon show. And I sort of like that relationship. I hope that's not a trope with female animated shows that would get a little annoying at a certain point. But I like where this is going, but this just felt like a starter, and it felt like what the show wasn't. We also, Birdcat wasn't in it. The Birdcat joke is only in it as much as you see in the trailer, which is so disappointing in my mind. I thought it was going to get like a lot of Birdcat jokes, and it just shows up. That was very disappointing to me. This is also, and a lot of people have said this, and I tend to agree, because I don't remember a big Birdgirl fandom before all this. But Mike O'Wellen, I think, who is currently the head of Adult Swim. And I also have to say, correct my Adult Swim video, that Mike Lazo does not work at Adult Swim anymore. He retired. But Mike O'Wellen, when this is a separate video, it'll have a little text here. Because I hope I'm saying that right. But he is running Adult Swim. He created Harvey Birdman and suddenly put this in production. Almost everyone thinks he wanted to do this and no one else. And since no one could say no, he did it. If that's true, more power to you. But it does sort of feel like a project that corporately they wanted, but I don't know if fandom they wanted. I don't know if it bridges the gap. I am a little cornbread. Sorry. I hope this bridges the gap between that, because I don't think, although I'm sold on her as a character and her friends and some of those relationships and things, I'm not fully sold on wanting to watch this more. And that's why I'm sort of glad I'm going to be reviewing another episode, because I sort of want to give it a more of a fair shake, because it felt like this one, there's so much setup in it. Like, what's the average episode like? But one of the funny things about Harvey Birdman was like the Jetsons clip that I think was on Twitter a bunch I saw this week, or Scooby-Doo, or seeing the other Hanna-Barbera characters. And Birdgirl doesn't seem to have that. And I'm wondering how this show in this universe works without having those references. Feels like it might suffer, to be honest with you. So I think a spinoff of Harvey Birdman would get like, hey, why don't you do like, Dexter, or like other characters you didn't get to, or the Shirt Tails, or something like that. So I hope that they are able to do that, because I think if they were, that would be really cool. I really liked Harvey Birdman for that reason, but it also had a lot of great jokes. And this feels like a different kind of sensibility. Feels like sort of Archer-ish from what I've seen of Archer, which I haven't seen a lot, or C-Lab-ish, or it's like it fits within Adult Swim, but it doesn't feel like as Harvey Birdman-like, even though it's in that universe. So I'm really curious to see it not having to set up so much about like, oh, she's the CEO because her father, basically the plot of this, is her father dies. He sends Birdgirl as the CEO, and then Birdgirl has to kind of figure out her way corporately in this corporation that her father used to run. And it's like it had to set up that. It has to set up a villain. You have to understand where she's at, how she has, her regular persona and her superhero persona, and like all these things. And I kind of just want an episode where it's like, villain of the week, or however they're going to do it. So we need to really see that first. And I feel like there was too much on this episode, rightfully so, because it's got a lot to set up and do. But I hope it can be more. And I like the Harvey Birdman a lot, so I'm hoping this can live up to that legacy and do a little bit more, because just her being wacky and Pageant Brewster is like sort of okay, but I feel like Harvey Birdman had so much fun stuff going on. I'm hoping Birdgirl can, at least rise to like kind of meet it in quality, at least. I think would be really cool for it. So, all right. So when you see this later, there'll be a whole other part of it. Anyway, the design, I will say the design was all right, but I sort of, again, it looked like other design shows. It looked sort of Archer-ish in the design, which I don't think showcased. I don't know. Nothing about it entirely surprised me or spoke to me in a way, but I kind of wanted it. I also felt the drive that I wanted it to get there. So that's something. All right, let's do questions. I, again, am sorry that I'm not good at timing these things clearly. I need to get better about that. Lost Media gift person. I'm probably not going to review Pingu, but I have seen Pingu, actually. I watched a bit of it, so I'm aware of it, but I don't think I will. So, 2 Patreon questions, and I will answer other questions, and then we'll all get out of here. Jordan Bouchard asked, do you think any of the recent subscription services started, such as Discovery Plus, Peacock, Paramount Plus, AMC Plus, etc., will ever rival Disney Plus, Netflix, or Hulu, or which ones will fall earlier than expected, if any? I don't really see how Discovery Plus works, to be honest with you. I really don't. I don't understand Peacock, how it's doing its business practices, although I use it regularly because I watch Amber Ruffin. I sort of hope it becomes something. I thought that could be cool, and it's sort of disappointed me. I don't know AMC Plus. Paramount Plus could, because Viacom's a lot bigger than people realize. So I think we could see that kind of build up bigger than people expect. So that's kind of what I think of that. I don't know if any of them could get up to Disney Plus, Netflix, or one of those, but maybe Hulu. Hulu's not that big, so despite it being around for so long. Austin asks a question for Movie Crowd. He says, "Hey Austin, what a great show we had this week." I love these, by the way, Austin. I like how you write these. My question is, with the MST3K Kickstarter out, I'm wondering what was your thoughts on the original Kickstarter? Did you get your rewards from that? And what movies do you think we will see from seasons 13? And what do you think we see a surprise live riff to promote the Kickstarter? Surprise live riff, I don't think so, but that's an interesting idea. I wouldn't be surprised, because the Mac and Me thing got them so much attention. I think they should maybe do Plan 9. I know they've said maybe no to it, but I think that sort of worked for it, and especially getting attention to Mystery Science Theater, I think is something they need. So I would not be surprised if they do Plan 9. I think they should just do it. I like the first Kickstarter. This doesn't feel like the event that it was, because that felt like, oh my god, it's coming back, and this feels like we're just getting this constant stream of it. So it's like, I don't think you could put the lightning in the bottle that the original one was, but I do think and I got all my rewards and I was really happy with them, but now it feels more expected, and it doesn't feel as surprising. So that's the only part I find different, really, Austin. So all right, questions. Let's do a bunch for a little bit, but it is a little late, so let's not go too long. I'm sorry about that. Carter Wright asks, have you listened to any songs from Depeche Mode? I've actually been, in December and January, I was listening to like early Depeche Mode, and it was pretty good. So like, you just can't get enough, but not that song, but like that era. I don't know why. Let's see. Zane Powers. So how come horror can't take place in space? I assume you know what I'm referring to. I've heard about this thing. I don't really understand why people say that. I think horror can take place in space. Some of it is done in sillier ways, but I think it can. It's just really what you do with it. Whoever wrote that doesn't know what they're talking about. Cornbread, or who originally wrote that, not you, Zane Powers, you're great. Cornbread says, question with Camp Coral, Baby Yoda, Baby Stay Puft, and more, would you agree that we now live in another baby era like in the 90s, aka a neo-baby era, with Grogu obviously not being available for season 3 of Mandalorian due to his book schedule? Does this mean that Mando will have a baby Katana Wolfman travel with him in Grogu's place? I love this idea, and yes, 100% I think that will happen. Not plausible. Should I get a Twitter? Yes, and you should follow me. I don't know, unless you really hate it. Nasanophobia, is Nagpur set in the same universe as Bright? No, how dare you. Zane Powers, thoughts on the values of NFTs stop dropping by 70%? Good. Sinram, the Film Spotting podcast just concluded its bracket-style competition for the best films of the 80s. Do the Right Thing won first place. Agree or disagree? 100% agree. I would say it's one of the best. It deserves to be on the top 10 best American movies of all time. Probably the best films of all time. I 100% think Do the Right Thing. It's like, what, between Raging Bull, Amadeus, and Do the Right Thing? I would probably say those. Maybe Empire Strikes Back gets in the top 10, but I would say Do the Right. I think that's a great choice. So I agree. I strongly agree. Sunspot Mill, if you were to launch your own streaming service, what would you call it, and what kind of programs would you have on it? I don't know. Like Realo, and I would just play old movies, but it would be curated, so you'd want to check them out more. Nblood T asks, you think the Nostalgia Critic will make a sequel for The Wall with Dark Side of the Moon? Please, God, no. I hope he doesn't. Bruce Parker, best hit clips offerings. I think they had Oops, I Did It Again was the best loop, as I recall. I'm assuming you're talking about the pizza party thing where I talked about that. Not plausible. Did the British really care that much about the royals? I think they do, but not so much Prince Philip, to be honest with you. Could Mighty Mouse be on Birdgirl? That's not Hanna-Barbera. I'm not sure who owns that, but why not? How are you liking The Crew starring Kevin James? I still haven't watched it, unfortunately. Lost media person, I think you need to chill out a little. Zane Powers, thoughts on the new streaming service device that will be able to count the total amount of people in the room and charge each one pay-per-view? I couldn't find the story on that. I think that's kind of a shitty idea, to be honest with you, but I'm sure that's what they want to do to make more money. It's probably an inevitability, but I find it unfortunate. Did you finish DuckTales reboot from Medela Butterfly? No, I didn't really get to start it. I think I'm moving on to just random movies. I do want to start doing a full rewatch of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I feel like I don't know how I watched originally, but I really want to go through it. I think that's my next thing, and then maybe Harley Quinn, and then Evangelion, and maybe I'll get to. I don't know if DuckTales will happen. I wanted it to, and now it's just not. So sorry about that. Embla T, have you seen HBO's Barry? It's pretty good. It's about a hitman who wanted to move on to be an actor. I haven't, but I've heard it's pretty good. Nottenbach 64, Biggie or Tupac. I live in Brooklyn, and Biggie murals are everywhere, so Biggie. Not Plaza, and I think Biggie's. I like Biggie more than Tupac. I don't know. I like Tupac. They're both great. It's a dumb... Anyway, but I like Biggie. Not plausible. Do you know that an episode of Gravity Falls called Mystery Shack was thought up by Alec Hirsch, but he couldn't get it past the rest of the writing team? Oh, man. I'm assuming that had Shaq in it. Now I wish that had happened. Okay. Considering Prince Philip died the same day as DMX, does the very different nature of their lives and death catch your notice? No, I think it's just they died at the same time, and that's kind of weird. Bloxy asks, what cartoon needs a gritty live-action adaptation next? Maybe Dexter? Cornbread, opinions on nicknames. I mean, my name is Jim, so I like nicknames. What is your biggest Spielberg hot take from Bruce Parker? I don't like the 2000s from him that much. Who's the worst one-hit wonder director from Zane Powers? Probably the artist guy, maybe. Not plausible. Are you going to watch Infinity Train over 1 week or all at once? Probably all at once. That's what I usually do. Do you have a toaster oven? That's a weird question, Bloxy, but no. How do you think Rocky will die in Creed 3 Zane Powers? I just don't think he'll be in it. I don't think he'll die. I think he'll just be like, he moved on. He's hanging out with his kid. Bloxy, who had the better album, Joe Pesci or Macho Man Randy Savage? Randy Savage. When you mention that you blame everything for OKKO's cancellation except Ian, does that mean you blame me as well? Sure. That's funny. What characters should be put in Paddington to restore order? I don't know. That's a weird one. Are you familiar with Ben Folds from Xenophobia? Yes, a little bit. I mean, obviously, I referenced it in that Knockforce song, I believe. Oh, second place went to The Shining. That's interesting. Top 5 sandwich meats? I don't know if I can do that. Let me just do one, and I think it's a little... Yeah, it's very past what we usually do. Let's do 2 people I haven't answered questions by. Let's see. I'll just do Alex the Menace. What is the animated film with your favorite screenplay? Everyone talks about the visuals for animated film, but I feel further discourse should be had for their writing. That's a good point, Alex the Menace. I'd say the Brad Bird couple have strong scripts. I would also say Toy Story. I would say Toy Story should get more attention. It was nominated, but the first Toy Story has a really fantastic screenplay. So I'd say that one. And I'll do Westinator because I didn't answer a question from you. Does Ready Player One count as an Easter movie since it's about an Easter egg hunt? No, but if you want it to be, it can. Ever watch any Greg Arki films? I don't think so because I can't think of one off the top of my head, Yellow Psych, but I'd be open to it. I'll look that up after the show. All right. What's your least favorite Beatles song? Carter Wright? Maybe that anthology song. All right. I think that's it for tonight. Thank you all very much for coming out and being here with me tonight and doing all this stuff. Listening to me talk about various movie news. Sorry we went a little late, only 10 minutes. But yeah, I will be back next week. I think there'll be an Oscar prediction stream maybe the night of the 19th, but I will tell you next stream the specific date. It might be later in the week. We'll see. And yeah, I don't think there'll be a video on Monday, but there'll be the Falcon Winter Soldier tomorrow, and then Toonami either Tuesday or Wednesday, and Birdgirl, Monster Pet, and a review on Friday, which I think you'll enjoy. Anyway, you all have a good night. Thank you very much for watching, subscribing, liking this video, all those things, and you all have a great night, and I will see you all next time. And subscribe if you would like to. Have a good weekend, everybody. See you next time.